Ready. Good afternoon and welcome to the April 9th meeting of the Nashville Fair Board of Commissioners. It is now 4:05 p.m. and I will call this meeting to order. I will begin by reading a legal notice as information for our audience. If you are not satisfied with the decision made by the Metropolitan Board of Fair Commissioners today, you may appeal the decision by petitioning for a writ of cert with the Davidson Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of entry of the board's decision. To ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met, please be advised that you should contact your own independent legal counsel. I will next entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes from our previous meeting.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of the approving the minutes, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
And aye. So the minutes have been approved unanimously. Next up, we will have our financial update.
Hello, everyone. The financial information presented today is preliminary, and all of the revenues and expenses for March 2024 may not have been recorded to the ledgers as of April 8th when this report was created. The preliminary actuals through March 2024 are as follows. Revenues are approximately $2.7 million. Expenses are around $3.1 million, resulting in a net loss of approximately $370,642. Depreciation expense is $847,300, so the total net loss is roughly $1.2 million. The prior year actuals through March 23 are as follows. Revenue was $2.7 million. This includes $288,700 of ARP funds, which we received due to our revenue shortfall because of COVID. Expenses were $3.2 million. The resulting net loss was $457,995. Depreciation expense was a little over $1 million. So the total net loss for March 2023 was $1.4 million. Below you will find an itemized list of our revenues and expenses. Our top three revenue sources are flea market, corporate sales events, and divisional fair. Flea market revenue is roughly $797,000, which represents 29% of our total revenue collected. Corporate sales events is $963,500, which represents 34%. Divisional fair is $704,000, which represents 25% of our total revenue collected. Our top three expenses are payroll, purchase services, and low cap. Payroll expense is about $1.2 million, which represents 40% of our total expenses. Purchase services expense is $689,997, which is 22%. Low cap is roughly $333,255, which is roughly 10% of our total expenses. For the month of April 2024, our revenue projection is approximately $147,100. Our expense projection is about $345,800. On our agent report, we have approximately $24,400 in outstanding invoices, which we have collected about $1,500 well, 4,500 today. But all of the promoters have been contacted and invoiced, and we expect to remain within budget this fiscal year. So that concludes the financial report. Are there any questions?
Yes.
Thank you, Satrice. Great report as always. And thank you for adding the prior year actuals for comparison. That's great. Do we have data, and I'm just looking at the track line, and I was wondering, can you, not for today, but can you research and figure out sort of what our track P&L would have been for, and primarily the revenue side, for like, I don't know how far back you have records for, but as far back as you have, like 10 or 15 years, can you get that information?
I'll try to get that information.
Okay, I'm sorry to ask, but what I want to see is I'm trying to see, like, okay, you're past COVID, you're sort of in a steady state. Like, what was it looking like before? Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to compare.
Okay, and then I know you know this, but I'll just state this for the record, that the last 2 years our revenue is going to be much, much higher because of the fair. That's just a little bit of a...
The fair? I'm asking about the track.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant like the entire fairgrounds.
No. I'm sorry. I just want just for the line items attributed to the revenue attributable to the track line item. Okay. And I'm not too worried about the expense side, because I know that that's not going to track because we're not doing it on that basis. So if you have any like anecdotes on the expense side, that's great. But really, like, if like over time there's been X number of employees sort of dedicated, that kind of information. But really, I'm looking at what are the revenues attributable to the track.
All right.
And, yeah.
And to back that up, just to make it to be comparison apples to apples, have the number of events that were held in each year, if you can find that. The number of events that were held each year for the track, so it can be apples to apples. Because 1 year may have been 5 races, the other year may have been 10 races. So make it look, so we can make it apples to apples, and not to be, different if it was a less amount of race in a certain year.
So you want me to make the criteria a range where...
No, just do every year.
Every year.
But put down...
How many races?
Yes. Yes.
And I have a question. So we've received for the last, 2 years, 3 years, the extra boost in funding. Do we anticipate that this budget cycle as well?
We do not. And we also expect that money to be exhausted this month in April. So we started it in August of 2022. And we made it through April 2024 with that $1 million.
So do we have a budget for next year? I mean, for the upcoming budget cycle?
We've submitted a budget. It hasn't been approved yet, but we've submitted one.
Can we see that?
Did we look at it like in a preliminary in like the February meeting? So maybe just send that back to us. Thanks.
Whatever was submitted, we didn't see what was submitted.
Right.
That's a really good point, Jasper, too. It's like, and kind of getting to the same thing I'm getting at. It's like, we're kind of, all right, we're through COVID. We've got these sort of extra funds that we've had. All right, so now we've kind of cleaned out our P&L, and like we're looking at like kind of getting toward, I mean, there's a ton of construction still happening. We're going to hear all the construction. So we can't completely sort of imagine it as steady state, but we can start thinking like, okay, if you don't have any extra injections of funds, what amount of revenue can the property bear? And that'll help us make forward-looking decisions. So I think that's really smart to call that out.
All right, thank you, Sir Tracy. Any other questions? All right, thank you. Next, we'll have an events update from our partners is Nashville Soccer.
Afternoon. I will not read the report to you because I'm sure that gets tiresome. So I'll just put some of the highlights. Since we last met, we've had 1 win, 1 loss, 1 draw. So we've got every bucket filled there. This last weekend was kind of a big match for the city because they had the Premier League Live Fest down on Broadway, and we had a lot of folks from that festival come to the match on Saturday night, which was great. They got to see. So Daniel Sturridge from Liverpool, iconic player, came and got to see the match, and so did Sir Mo Farah, which is very exciting. Also, since we last met, we announced our Special Olympics United Team roster, so they will play their first match at our stadium on May 18th following the conclusion of our first team match. And then on the non-soccer side, we had a St. Patrick's Day event on March 17th that was very successful, several hundred attendees, so we'll keep doing that. The newest items, the garage opened. So thanks to Dirk for that. We've got more cars and spaces now, so that went well. We're at 480 spaces until the unit starts selling, but those spots are being sold on single game passes. So once we can't use all those spots, those cars will be put elsewhere. And then we continue to get positive feedback from WeGo. So happy to entertain any questions.
Any questions? Yes.
Just a comment.
Yep.
I attended not the last match, but the previous match, and I parked over here, and it was very. I mean, it was the most sparse parking that I've seen in a while. But it was 28,000 people in the stadium, so I don't know what has happened, but I think that's a good sign that because I was in and out as well. So
yeah.
That's just good sign on whatever's going on with the parking, because it definitely it hadn't been that easy to get in and out in a long time.
I think, like I mentioned last time, people are starting to figure out the routines. It's been 2 seasons at the stadium. And even when I leave, I've noticed it's gotten faster and faster from game to game. It's the one-off events that'll be a little bit different because most of the attendees are not folks who are familiar with Geodis Park. But I think as we continue to grow, the parking will get better as well.
I will note, too, that we had a council member reach out to us and let us know that she took the free WeGo bus and it was packed. Yeah. So I think that as more chances that people have to take that bus, it's more people know about it, that is really going to pick up.
Yeah, and the Murfreesboro line so far, I mean, I haven't seen the data from the last match, but it's been the most popular. But to your point, Laura, I do think that it's going to grow and grow as more people learn about it. It's just kind of word of mouth. And Commissioner Hartley, we talked about different ways to communicate all the things we have going on. And so we continue to push all of the tweets and social media and press releases and all that. And I think more people are learning about the multimodal options. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Thanks. Speedway.
Thank you, Commissioners. We opened up Friday and Saturday was our first event for the year race, and it went, I'm sorry, Saturday, Sunday. We moved to Sunday. So we did start at 12 noon. We moved it back an hour, and it seemed to be well received. We were done a little after 6 o'clock, so we hit our times. We had a fair crowd for a Sunday against some other things, and again, we're off to going now. We have another event in 2 weeks with the Legend cars, the National Legends, and expect to keep going along with our schedule. Any questions or comments? Yes.
I just wanted to recognize again the efficiency of the races that Bob and Jason manage, because he's a little modest here. He finished 45 minutes before of our kind of curfew for a Sunday. So thank you for that.
Well, we sure try very hard, not just, again, to prepare. I mean, sometimes things happen out of our control if we have to have a red flag or an ambulance leave or something like that. But barring anything like that, we expect to be on time every time, or early is our goal. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you. So next, the Executive Director's report.
Okay, I have 4 things for you really quick. First of all, so they can leave if they want, I wanted to introduce our new employees. So we lost Marissa last month. She joined the Air Force, and so she was our flea market coordinator. And I wanted to introduce Jeff. He joined us last week, and I just wanted to introduce you to him and welcome him to our team.
Hello, everybody. Look forward to becoming a familiar face. Great.
So Jeff has a background in, and I might get this wrong, but he was the director of operations for AAA Ball Club?
It was close to AAA. It was high A for the
Okay.
Bowling Green Hot Rods. So I was director of the operations.
So yeah, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
I wanted to give you two updates on the two pieces of legislation that this board passed. One was the sponsorship legislation that we amended at the last meeting. That is on second reading next week, so I will let you know how that goes. I don't expect any challenges with that. And then the other one that is going to be on first reading, and you approved this a while ago, this was an easement and an encroachment for both Market Street and NES to run utilities and to host utility boxes, essentially, on an area of property just outside their leased footprint by the garage. So that is going to council on first reading at the same time the sponsorship legislation is going to be on second. So give you an update on that. And then we have very exciting news. The Fairgrounds has been selected to host the State of Metro address. So really fun. You all will be getting an invitation to attend. That is going to be May 14th at 10 a.m. So super fun. That's all I have.
Yeah, pretty interesting. Huh? So next I will go with our capital projects update, and I saw with Ron, Mel, David's going to. Okay, all right, David.
Oh, how do I do that? Do what? Oh, okay, we're good now. So you can see a lot of construction activity, and we're getting excited because we're bringing on some more projects. To give you an update on Fair Park, so the greenway out here, we're almost complete with the punch list, addressing all the punch list items. So we'll have that completed. The trailhead structures in, so we have that completed. And we started work on a wayfinding package. Then on infrastructure, we've got the continuation road, which will be from Fair Plaza out to Craighead, and that is currently in permitting, and we're expecting some estimates, preliminary estimates due this week. Let me make sure I got everything. That's on that. And then on Fair Plaza, everything seems to be proceeding well there, and they're accommodating the speedway operations, so everything's good there. And then on Wingrove, so we have that in for permitting. We have preliminary estimates in, so we're working on trying to get that work started as soon as possible. That'll also coincide with some upgrades that we're going to do at the entryway here at the Fairgrounds. So that should all coincide nicely. So here over the next couple of months, you all should start seeing a lot of this activity, like threads coming together, and we'll see a lot of things blossom. Just like we're seeing out there at the Greenway. We got a lot of flowers blooming right now. Questions?
Thank you. Are there any questions? Yes.
Just a question related to Fair Plaza and also just the roads around mixed use. Bob, Lindsay, Dirk, any coordination problems between the different tenants at the Fairgrounds? Anything, not that you want to hate on your colleague next to you, but is there any concerns anyone has about coordination that they want to raise up?
I can kind of start that. So we all have been dealing with some delays in some electrical on that road, and it's been tough on the Speedway because they have not had access that they typically would have as far as getting access to the road. In addition to that, we had some, our backflow burst during the cold snap, and that also was extremely inconvenient to the Speedway because they didn't have water for a while. So that has been, I think, frustrating for a lot of us because it was stuff beyond our control. That said, R.C. Matthews, in advance of this race this weekend, laid pug so that we had access. Like the road had binder on it. It was accessible, and Market Street, because the ADA sidewalks weren't in, Market Street let us have access to the garage for ADA parking because that was the only ADA accessible route to service the concourse. So it's as good as we can do it. It hasn't been super great though, just because it's delays that, you know, you sometimes have to deal with construction. But we're on I think we're getting there with finishing.
All right. Any more questions? I think that's it. Thank you. All right. And then Dirk.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Nice to be with you again. It's been a couple months. To your question, Commissioner, Laura's absolutely correct. We're in Bob's way. We're trying to get out of his way. The project hasn't gone as fast as we would have otherwise preferred, but I think we're on a good trajectory now with various issues with electrical and whatnot kind of behind us. So we're looking forward to getting the Speedway Alley turned over as soon as possible and proceeding on to the Fair Plaza work that will be opening at the same time as the building. With respect to the building, the building exterior is now virtually complete. All the paint's up. We've got a few more areas to do on the outside, so it kind of looks the way that it's going to look like in perpetuity, with the exception of a couple areas that need to be done. We at the ownership group have started the punch list process, which is checking for the quality and accepting units on the 6th floor. So the 6th floor apartments are very far along with finishes, cabinets and appliances, bathrooms installed, and we're working our way from the top to the bottom. The apartments on the 1st floor have the cabinets being installed currently, and all the amenity areas on the ground floors are having the drywall installed, getting ready for finishes as we speak. We are on track so far to begin our leasing efforts for the project in early May. We'll have a leasing center, which is a fancy word for trailer, on Block A in early May, and we'll be going through our interest list. If you know anybody who wants an apartment, 445parkcommons.com is the place to register for interest, and we'll be launching a website for that project here in a couple weeks. If everything tracks with Metro and our use and occupancy certificates, we'll be moving in residence in late July. And so far, so good. That's tracking. We mentioned that the garage is now complete. We were fortunate to be able to park 2 matches so far for soccer on March 30th and April 6th. Combined, we parked over 700 cars in that facility for those 2 matches, so that provided some significant relief from the overall parking impact for the campus. And I'll mention also that the colorful banners that are on the garage were courtesy of a partnership between Nashville Soccer and the Arts and Business Council. It's really cool, and there's some cool little Easter eggs of soccer and Nashville type things that are on that, so I encourage you to look at all 4 sides of the garage because it really is something. Elsewhere around the site, we have the concrete site walls, sidewalks, and stairs being constructed around the project. You'll be able to primarily see that in the area between the building and the garage. We've got a dog park and some other areas. It's starting to look really nice. So hopefully by May, I'll be reporting that we're starting to lease units to residents, and that would be a great bit of progress. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yes.
2 questions, Dirk. Thank you so much for that report. One, and I'm sorry I don't know the answer to this. Is there any short-term rental in that building?
No, there aren't.
Okay. No, I didn't. And then, absolutely. And then the second question is, does the ownership group of the building or your leasing agent also lease the commercial spaces on the 1st floor?
Our company does, yes.
Okay.
And we're making progress on that. We have letters of intent out for 2 of the 6 spaces, and we've actually leased one of the spaces already. So I hope maybe by next month we'll be making an announcement of some of the food and beverage and retail concepts that are coming. That would be nice.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dirk. So I think that was it for all of the reports. We have no old business. I did want to have a discussion on 2 quick things really quick. One is, speaking of which, a couple of us have been able to visit the apartment during that, so that was a fantastic tour. I would like to do one more tour and invite the board members to do that. And it's going to be on April 20th, so that we can hear. I want to sort of hear the racing as some of the cars are practicing, and what it sounds like inside of the building. So that'll be on April 20th during the race, and Bob is going to send me a schedule of the times that they're going to be practicing, and so hopefully we'll be able to coordinate a time with everyone. But Dirk's team has been very flexible and wanted to meet up with us to do that. And then the next thing that I would like to bring to your attention is that I've had a conversation with Laura, and I'm always looking at financing and finances and figuring out what we can do in order to help here in the staff. And I actually thought about maybe during the fair, that we as the board have some type of activity that we're in charge of, that we raise money for, that its goal is to serve as a fundraiser, for the fair, whether it's a reception, a board reception, or a dinner, because and I got the idea because of last year, I believe each night there was a different theme. So there was dinner theater, there was mystery theater, so maybe we can, come together and come up with some type of, sort of fun activity that can happen during the fair, and we charge a modest admission or whatever, but it'll be, the sole purpose is for us as a board to sort of do something a little extra, it's not going to cover the $300,000 deficit. I mean, I would love for it to, but we can do something. I want to hear and to see what you guys think about that.
All for it.
Yeah, conceptually, it sounds something we should definitely explore.
Yeah, and I think Satrice has some great ideas that she's put around over the last couple of years. So maybe we can get some ideas. I don't want it to be just my ideas. So I was thinking maybe a brunch or something. I mean something that that'll be low cost. We could get some sponsors, and but it'll be a board driven activity.
Get a dunk tank out there.
Hey, we could. I know a lot of people that will probably pay to dunk me in the water right now.
I mean, I'd pay. Just
So okay, so cool. So we'll I'll work through the staff to figure out how we can coordinate something, and maybe we can gather some ideas and we can get to work on that. And then sorry, one thing I want to bring to your attention, because it was brought to my attention a couple of days ago, is that there's a piece of legislation floating through Metro Council. So I just want to make you all aware of this as board members. That there is a piece of legislation floating around Metro Council that will require us to provide financial disclosures on our income. And for not just us, but for anyone who wants to serve on a board or commission. So I just want to bring that to your attention. So some people may be reaching out to you about that, and to get your opinion about that. So I didn't want you to be blindsided like I was blindsided. But as a public official, working in state government, my finances are already disclosed. So
I'm working for a nonprofit. Mine are also disclosed, so I'm not too worried. But thank you for making us aware, and I think it's an important issue for the city to consider.
So, all right. Well, any other announcements or any comments?
Can we discuss the letter we received via email from the displaced Fairgrounds person?
I'm happy to discuss not a specific incident, but I can talk to you about kind of our general rules and code of conduct, if you want. Our process right now, so we've worked with Metro Legal to establish a code of conduct. It was never something I thought we would have to do, but unfortunately over the last 6 months, I mean, we've had issues, of course, throughout the history of the market, but lately we have had some aggressive, unruly, intimidating behaviors, not just to staff, but between vendors. And so we took the initiative, and we'd been talking about it for a little bit, to put together a code of conduct, which Metro Legal helped us craft, and we've incorporated that into the rules. There is a process in that code of conduct for discussions, warnings, what happens if there's an egregious act that maybe doesn't warrant a warning, and then an appeal, which would then come to me, and then the decision is final. So we do have a process for that, yes.
That's good.
Yeah, and I would have to say that, you know, I do visit this property while events are going on, just around, and talking with, I talk with vendors, I talk with attendees, you know, and then I identify myself as the porch, because most I'm wearing a sweatshirt, a hoodie, like a secret shopper type of thing. And because I'm curious about what people's experiences are here. And I mean, I hear overwhelmingly great things and how the staff is operating. So that's why I have full confidence in the way that they handled that event, because I know that it didn't just get to that point. It had to be some other things in that, and that's just from the feedback that I have received from our vendors and people who frequent the property. So that's why I didn't address it, but I'm glad you brought it up, because I've you know, it's just, I have full confidence in the way that was handled. All right, any other questions? All right, I guess I'll entertain a motion to.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you all very much.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.